I'm Jennifer Eileen, and I'm so delighted to welcome you to my cafe, my Pet Info Cafe. Pour yourself a warm cuppa, your favorite, and let's chat about our love of animals. We all need the warmth and love that animals bring into our lives. They need us too. In our cafe, we share tips, success stories, information for humans and our fur or feathered or finned family to have happy, fulfilling lives together. I would love you to meet the volunteer kitten rescue team of trained volunteers that temporarily foster young kittens that have been found during our TNR efforts. They help to expedite removing the kittens from the field to ensure their safety and to decrease colony population, as well as provide wonderful pets for adopters. Please welcome the Loudoun Community Cat Coalition volunteers. Thomas Beauvais, President Executive Director of Loudoun County Community Cat Coalition. Sarah Bruns, Kitten Rescue Team Program Director, Foster and Trapper. Kim Outlaw, Kitten Rescue Team Foster Coordinator, Foster and Trapper. Hello everyone, I'm so glad we could be here together and talk about the kitten rescue. Who doesn't want to talk about kittens? You know, what's better than that? You know, the reality is that cats are programmed to procreate, and a mother cat can have hundreds of kittens in a lifetime. A female cat at 4 months is able to have kittens. So what you do is really important. It's an important aspect of trap, neuter, and return. And so tell me about some of your great stories about what you do, Tom.
Well, really, as you mentioned, the Kitten Rescue Team was it's our second most important program. We started just doing trap, neuter, return, and quickly realized how many kittens we find in the field who are newborns, everywhere from newborns to toddler kittens. And so we created the Kitten Rescue Team to try to bring those kittens in and keeping with our mission of reducing the outdoor cat population in a humane way. And those kittens can be socialized and adopted as indoor pets for life. So Sarah is our Kitten Rescue Team program lead, and if you want to talk a little about what we do.
Sure. Tom and I sat in a meeting and we were talking about, when we would find kittens in the field, people don't realize, people contact all the time. What do I do when I find a kitten? But for us, we were assessing what do trappers and rescuers do when we find a kitten. We would go to a barn, and if the kittens are too young to be living on their own, we would leave them so that they were cared for by their mother. It's actually safer in that instance. A lot of people don't know that. You need to make sure the mother's nearby, but you really shouldn't be grabbing little kittens that can't live on their own unless you know that they don't have their mother to protect them and feed them. They have a better chance with their mother. So sometimes we were leaving kittens to be with their mother because we didn't have any way to provide adoption services for them, foster or those kinds of things. You have to do that through the state government. We relied on volunteer partner organizations as well. We're all volunteers. All the rescues locally, us and others, we run on donations, we run on volunteers. People keep cats in their homes. We don't have facilities. So those resources are limited. Other rescues have resources that are limited. So we were partnering with other resources, but we had to get somebody on the phone. I have kittens in a barn. Can you take them? I think they're weaned. So Tom and I and some of our other board of directors members sat in a meeting and decided to become a releasing agency. And so that was born, the Kitten Rescue Team. It's a little different than other rescues. We don't go to shelters. We don't pull kittens from people's homes that need to rehome a cat. We go into dumpsters. We go into barns. We go into literal gutters. And we find kittens there, and we bring them home. I don't know how else to say that better. Kim knows. When you bring a kitten home, a kitten right out of the field that might hate your guts. What are you doing?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as Sarah mentioned, we're a little bit of a different type of group, and so these kittens are coming from the environment where we found them directly into a foster's home. And this may be the very first human interaction that they've ever had. And typically, they learn how to be fearful through their mother. And so up to 8 weeks, they're learning all of that from their mom and continuing obviously past 8 weeks. But they will learn to be fearful and to protect themselves and to be able to survive. So when you are taking one of these kittens into your home, they are what we call, they're going to be a spicy kitten. They're going to be a bit hissy, spitty. They don't want you to touch them. And you know, what we do as fosters, we really get down to work and trying to socialize this kitten so that it can become adoptable and live its wonderful life inside and be cared for and be the pampered prince and princess that it should be. But you know, early on as fosters, it's a, you know, can be a challenging process, and you know, to be able to build trust with that kitten, and there's a lot of different techniques that we use in order to socialize that we can talk more about.
And that reminds me, you know, when we get them, you know, they don't just run up to you happy, like, I'm a kitten, take me home. You know, we have to get them. They have a mother who's like, humans, you know, they might provide food, but don't get near them. They're a danger. And so the kitten doesn't know you, doesn't know that you, like, let me love you. The kitten doesn't necessarily understand that message. So we have to, like I said, we've crawled into dumpsters. I've crawled into a dumpster. Kim and I went to a home one time, sort of in a rural area, and we climbed under a porch. There was reports of some kittens that were a little bit older, but they were still nursing. They were maybe 5 weeks old. They didn't weigh a pound. And we were able to sort of grab two really quick and shove them into our little carriers. But two of them, well, actually no, one of them them ran off, and we could not find it. So Kim and I are at we're at someone's home that's called us for help. We're crawling around their home, we're crawling in their bushes, we're crawling under their porch. And the porch had about this much clearance, and it was muddy.
We were covered in mud.
We were covered. We have pictures of ourselves after that one covered in mud.
Need those.
Yeah, so we crawl under the porch, and I look to where it's now been probably 2 hours since we last sighted a little black kitten. And I look. There's a
pillar.
A pillar
holding up the porch. It was, you know, like a, you know, part of the house.
A truss. Yeah. So around it, there's a hollow top in it, and I thought, I wonder what that is. So I took my phone and I clicked a picture down into, but there's probably 3 inches of clearance between the top of this pillar and, you know, in this much clearance. And so I snap a picture, and there is a kitten we had not seen down in there giving us like a death hiss. And he was down in there with the little black kitten, his sister. So we're like, well, how do we get the kittens out of here? One of our major trapper supplies is some gloves that a cat maybe can't bite through. And so I start to try to, Kim is standing guard because I'm like, this mother cat, if she comes, you know, she might get mad. I start to reach down and grab him, and he starts screaming bloody murder. I wish I had audio recorded it. But in his mind, he's fighting me. You know, he doesn't know I want to help him. I'm a threat to him. He's scared of me. And so he was screaming and screaming, and I'm reaching my hands, and I'm having Kim like, Kim, you have to stand guard because this mom cat is going to come get me. Her kitten is here. And, you know, I'm trying to twist my arm, and I can't get a grip on him, and eventually I figured it out. I had to put my arm under, it took 45 minutes to do this, flip my hand up, pass him over one of the trusses, grab him with my other hand, and then sort of put him, and then I got the other one the same way. And I brought those kittens home that night. We did eventually trap and spay the mother.
We did.
She lives her happy life with her caretakers.
That's right. Never leave the mother behind.
Yeah, we always get the mother.
Always get the mother spayed.
Sure.
Definitely. And that mother, you know, our caretakers, people don't realize those caretakers, they really love those cats. They might never pet that cat, but they love the cat. They know exactly every cat, every story, every name, how many. So I brought the kittens home that night, and, you know, they were a pound, but they hated me, and they didn't know, you know, they don't know. And so you know, first we give them a little flea bath, you know, to make sure that there's no fleas on them, because that can be not only bad for human homes, but bad for their health. You know, you put them in a small space, you just give them a warm space, you give them a meal. That makes a good impression. And I actually ended up naming that litter after spicy foods. And the one you see in the picture, his name is Gumbo. The one that I had to pull out, his name was Gumbo. He was adopted by a friend of mine. But he, the next morning, he was friendly and loved me, and he's probably one of the most friendly cats in the world. But people don't realize, you know, you need to socialize these cats. And we have techniques we need. And not every foster is willing to socialize, but it's essential, and it really makes a difference for that cat and for the person who's going to invite them into their home.
Yeah, absolutely. And so one of the, as Sarah just mentioned about fostering and you know, fostering for our group, We are a little bit different in that we are handling a lot more of these, spicier kittens. And so there are some techniques, and there's time, there's a time element that you have to be able to commit, because if you just feed them and don't really interact with them, they're not going to progress. So you need to spend some time with them. You need to follow some different kind of protocols, if you will, of how you're going to build their trust. Food is a really big motivator for these kittens, and so it's a little bit of a tough love, but they get food when you're in the room so that they associate you with food. Toys are a really big thing for these kitties as well, because this is the first time that they're playing with toys. So there's all these different techniques that we can teach our fosters on how to help socialize these kittens. And it's just really important that we get them through that process so that we can find them their forever homes.
Right.
So I think you might even have some pictures of what kind of environment does that look like, and it can be a bathroom. A small space for these kittens is a good idea. When they're very young, maybe 4 or 5 weeks old, and they're in our care, you can even do like a pop-up playpen, things like that, where, because they're not very big, but when they're a little bit bigger of a kitten, so a bathroom is probably a good idea there. Or we also use like dog crates, really large dog crates, and you can set up beds and a litter box and even hanging beds, so it gives them
Little hammocks and
exactly, a multi-tiered space. And it gives you a way to interact with them so that they get used to you. And then, slowly, as they become more social, you don't need that crate anymore. You now have your foster room, as an example. So now that they can, grow up and learn all of the other techniques, for, as a foster would apply.
So Tom, we were talking about socializing kittens, and I remember the kittens that I met when I came to your fundraiser at Pints for Paws, and they were just having such a good time. And as you said, Kim, we'd bring kittens into the studios. We just don't have any right now, because when they're happy and they're socialized, they're kind of oblivious to where they are. So, but we've got some good pictures of that. But that was really special, and it was just so good. People were enjoying meeting those kittens.
We really like to bring kittens out when we can, but it really depends on the stage that they're in terms of their development, socialization. Because they can regress if they're because they're born outdoors, they're learning to trust people, and if they get into a stressful environment that overwhelms them, they can really they'll shut down. And so we had at Pints for Paws, we had a couple of older cats as well, who are just shy, and they'll probably be shy forever because they're years old, and it is learned behavior and it becomes instinctive. But the smaller kittens, those ones were very well socialized. They loved interacting with people. We had toys there. It was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
And it's really hard to resist them when you can see them. It's everyone loves. You can look at pictures, you can look at videos, but seeing and being able to play and interact with a kitten is something that everybody just. How can you not love it?
So were they all adopted?
They are all adopted. Yes.
Awesome.
Two of them
Several
went to a house.
at the fundraiser. We're getting applications.
Yeah, 2 of them went to a house with a big dog. I followed the people, so I still see pictures of them, which is great. We can't do this without our fosters, and we run on volunteers and donations, but the fosters are the backbone of the kitten team because we don't have a facility. You have these cats in your home. When I have little kittens, even ones who might still be getting bottle fed, I'm self-employed. I'm lucky I can take them to my office, in which case I often don't see them for the whole day because people have them. I'll find them in various offices. I've carried them in sort of a backpack carrier into various businesses and things that let you, just for the various experiences for them. But some of the older ones just aren't going to be into that, and every cat's an individual. But the fostering makes a huge difference. Our partnerships with veterinarians makes a huge difference. So that we can get them the care that they need to get them onto that next stage. They're your foster, they're just kind of crashing. they're not going to live there.
We do sometimes get fosters with the mother cat as well. So in addition to just fostering and socializing kittens, occasionally we've had cats that are extremely pregnant that we've trapped to get spayed and neutered. And the vets will make a determination if it's going to risk the mother's life. We won't not take that risk. So if they're late enough in their pregnancy, and in some cases we had a cat that was actually going to a clinic, She was very small, very underweight, just because she lived in a stressful environment. And she gave birth to a kitten in her trap that we didn't even know was there until she was being taken out to go through the clinic process. And the vet tech who was doing it heard a little squeaking, and she thought the mother cat was squeaking, and just started to move around to get ready to anesthetize her, and she saw this little kitten crawl out from under her. So in those cases where we have cats that either have given birth or are about to give birth, we have fosters who will keep the mother and the kittens together, because there's no better way to care for those kittens than to keep them with the mother. Even totally feral mothers who are not going to be adopted will keep them so she can take care of the kittens. It's much easier on the foster as well. You don't have to bottle feed and teach the kittens how to go to the bathroom, for instance, because they don't know. The mother teaches them all of that behavior through grooming after feeding. So we keep them together when the kittens are weaned and old enough. As they said, if they learn that feral behavior from the mom. So if you keep the mom with them too long, you want to wait till they're weaned and they're out running around, and you can start feeding them wet food, and then you get the mom spayed and back out to the field, back out to her colony where she came from. Otherwise, she will start to teach those fearful behaviors to the kittens, which makes socialization a much more difficult job. So we foster all kinds of things. And there's another group of fosters, which are medical fosters, where we will bring a feral cat in, and it has a medical condition. We don't just spay and neuter them, but we treat the medical conditions as well. And so sometimes a cat might need surgery or have tooth extractions or have an eye issue, and they need to get medication for 2 or 3 days or a week before they can be returned to their colony. And so it takes a special kind of foster to be able to put medicine in the cat's eye, a feral cat's eye, and deal with it. So we teach people how to do that. We have some really spicy volunteers as well that can handle these spicy cats. And,
the socializing is really fascinating. You'll get a kitten, sometimes you might not be able to touch that kitten for a little while. So you might pet them with a toothbrush while they're eating. As an introductory, little, this is what, and then they'll sometimes be like growling as they're chewing. It's not worth stopping chewing, but they want to show you they're annoyed. And you make progress every day, just a little bit of progress every day. Sometimes it just takes 2 weeks, and you have a cat that wouldn't have been adopted that would go live outside. And part of our mission is that it's okay for cats to live outside. Colony caretakers love their cats. People ask us for help, we come help them. But if we have a chance to give a cat an indoor life, we'll typically take it. And sometimes it just involves a little bit of commitment from one of our fosters. I had a kitten, 3 of them came in. They were a little bit older, maybe 8 weeks, and 2 of them socialized kind of quickly. One of them she held out. She did not like me. She did not, she was a pretty little gray tabby cat. I started calling her Stabby because she would quickly put her little paw out and hiss at me. And now I know that the home she's in, a home with somebody I knew, and she is a cuddly love bug, and you would have never thought that. And it didn't take me very long, to do that. There's these little treats that have meat yogurt in a tube. There's various brand names. I'm not sure if we're allowed to say brand names, but lickable treats, and the cats really love those, and those are very high value. And they really help you make a good impression on your foster cats. So, and like I said, you can't do that without people that are willing to take cats into their homes. And people say, I would love the cat. I can't give the cat up. I've personally had more than 50 fosters. Kim?
Probably that as
Same.
well.
And it is, it's sad to say goodbye to them, but it's happy. And you can also heal your hurt heart by bringing in another foster.
That's right.
So, and then you realize how many lives you've impacted and how many cats you've helped. And if you're lucky, the people who adopt the cat, they send you pictures later. And that's really a lovely thing, so that you can really see the impact that not just TNR, but the fostering and adoption of cats makes in the community. And for the families.
That's right.
So we really appreciate our fosters.
So who would want to be a foster? What makes you want to be a foster? What would you recommend to other people to become a foster?
Call us. We can always use fosters.
1-800-FOSTER, right?
Yeah.
Kim interviews all of our foster applications where people want to foster come in, and Kim does a really good job of asking the right kind of questions. Asking, one of the questions you ask is, why do you want to be a foster?
Yeah.
We've had occasionally some fosters who just want to adopt a kitten. So they'll foster the kitten, they adopt the kitten, and
Yeah.
then they're done. And it's like,
All
okay,
right.
well that's great because you saved that kitten's life and you provided a service for us because you fostered the kitten. But the real value is in people who will foster, socialize, adopt the kittens, and continue because it's very rewarding, particularly when you're socializing a totally feral kitten that has no exposure to people. The day that kitten looks you in the eye and gives you the love look and starts to purr is it's an unforgettable feeling.
Yeah.
And it's such a rewarding thing for you and the cat. And then the day that it gets adopted and you see the happy people smiling, I always get a tear in my eye. When my wife does most of the fostering, but I help as well. And when they pick up the cats, I think I have a harder time with it than she does when I see them walk out the door. And I just have to take solace in the fact that those people are happy, that cat's going to be happy. We've done a great service for the community, the cats, and the people who are adopting it. But Kim, you have she's very good at vetting fosters and helping them understand what it means to be a foster. So you want anything you can talk about that?
Yeah,
what you
I mean,
look for?
I think it's for me because we are, fostering these, under socialized kittens. I dig into that part of it with folks who've contacted us. Sometimes I find out, that maybe someone is interested in like, well, I just really wanted to like maybe take a cat for 2 weeks and give it back to you guys, and then and while that is definitely a service that is out there, especially for some of our partner rescues who do placement at like a PetSmart, they often will rotate their cats in PetSmart for 2 weeks and then to a foster for 2 weeks. But for us, we're looking for a little bit more of a longer term commitment, and we'd like to be able, because 2 weeks you're just starting in that socialization process, and you're going to take, it's going to be somewhere between minimum, I think, 2 weeks depending on their age, and it may take a little longer. So we're really digging into that part of it and making sure that folks understand what that commitment is going to be about, and that they're not going to be scared of a hissy spitty kitten because yes, as Sarah mentioned, here's this little tiny ferocious thing. It only weighs 1 pound, but it thinks it's a giant lion.
It is very funny. It is. It is very funny.
So one thing that I wanted to also talk about is that sometimes we've had kittens that have gone through one of our spay-neuter clinics, and we had 2 kittens who, they did go through the spay-neuter clinic, they got their ear tip, and we were going to put them in a barn home because they were older. They were over 8 weeks old. They were probably 12 weeks old, and they had never interacted with a human in 12 weeks. So they were very, very fearful. And unfortunately, that barn home fell through, and we really didn't have anything else lined up. So one of our fosters who, she's got a really great regimen for socializing kittens, she agreed to take them and really got down to hard brass tacks, if you would, because these kittens were older and she wanted to really socialize them. And so she spent a lot of time. It worked out because she had just had some shoulder surgery, so she was home. She was mobile, but she was home, so she was able to spend a lot of time with them. And those 2 kittens turned around. It took a little longer than our typical socialization case, but those 2 kittens turned around, and now they're adopted into a wonderful home. They have a 5-year-old human brother who loves them to death, and they're snuggly lap kitties. So even though they have this ear tip, it just was a little sign of where they came from. But now they're adopted, loving indoor pets, and we just couldn't be happier about that little story.
Yeah, my personal cat has an ear tip as well because I trapped her. Well, another one of our volunteers trapped her. We were both at a site. And we go to sites when people call us for help. We don't just show up at your house, but people call us and we come help them. And she had a little kitten in a trap, and I said, I want that one. And so she went through the clinic just in case. She got her ear tips so she could be returned. But she did. She socialized very quickly, and she's my personal cat, and she's helped shepherd a lot of my foster kittens through the program. Teaching them how to cat. But I'm proud to have a cat with an ear tip as my personal pet.
We have several. I think the interesting thing is that when people adopt kittens or younger cats, a lot of them don't realize the beginnings of these kittens and cats. They're not born in in the shelter. That in a lot of cases, they aren't born in the pet store. A lot of these kittens have been born outdoors, and it's organizations like ours and other
Yes.
people who aren't even affiliated with the organization that take the time to rescue them and bring them in. And they end up living in people's homes happily forever.
Right. Yeah, most people, there's nothing wrong with them. Most cats are born outside. You know, people are like, oh, there was a kitten found in a dumpster. Somebody must have put the kitten in the dumpster. It's so cruel. And we usually say, well, that kitten was probably born in the dumpster.
Yeah.
Or the mother is,
Move them
Living
there.
nearby.
for lack of a better word, storing the kitten in the dumpster.
Yes, exactly.
And so that's one thing I think people don't realize is that most cats that you'll find in shelters at more conventional rescues, they're born outside, and maybe we crawled under a bush, got them, and gave them to a conventional rescue.
Well, you are all just wonderful, intrepid people, and you've brought us so many good stories and hope and compassion. So thank you all very much for joining us at Pet Info Cafe today and for sharing this very important story and doing what you do pretty much 24 hours a day. I know, I've read your stories.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer.
So thanks to Loudoun Community Cat Coalition. Loudoun Community Cat Coalition has provided medical care and spay-neuter services for over 3,000 community cats through the generous donations of supporters and efforts of volunteers and partners.
I'm Tom with Loudoun Community Cat Coalition. Our mission is to help the cats are born outdoors. We do TNR, trap, neuter, return. We get them spayed, neutered, and vaccinated so they don't continue to reproduce outdoors. And any kittens we find while we're trapping the parents, we bring the kittens in and we socialize them and get them adopted as indoor pets. Those are our two major programs, the Kitten Rescue Team and our Trap, Neuter, Return programs.